Hey everyone, Matt Morris here. Happy New Year. If you read my blog post yesterday, you know this is the time of the year that I am super excited about because essentially it's a time to, reflect on the previous year, see what worked, kind of analyze your results, and then set a course of action so that this year can be the best year of your life. And I don't know about you, but I am all in on making 2013 the greatest year of my life and impacting a lot of other people in a big, big way. And so the purpose of this video is real quickly, it's to show you how to set goals to create rock star results. And if you know my background, you know I was anything but creating rock star results. I was a long way away from anything that was rock star-ish. In fact, at 21, after 2 years of being an entrepreneur, I was homeless. I was living out of my beat up Honda Civic. I was bathing in gas station bathrooms. Actually showered naked in the rain in a church parking lot one night. Not the most fun experience, but definitely a time to reflect, figure out what I was doing wrong, and recorrect. And so I'd love to say I had this magical moment or this great insight that allowed me to dramatically shift my results and become a millionaire overnight. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Fast forward a couple years, age 24, I was actually living at home with my mom. $30,000 in debt. I was working as a waiter at Saltgrass Steakhouse here in the Dallas area. And, not having a lot of results. And it was kind of in that moment of, if you've ever been to the point where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, well, that's definitely where I was. And I decided to start intently focusing on goal setting and, more importantly, kind of the action plan behind the goal. And so kind of what happened is, went from living at home with my mom, the next year actually got to a six-figure income, continued with the process, learning, growing, goal setting, focusing on those goals. A few years later, at age 29, I was a self-made millionaire. Now I'm 36 years old. I know I don't look 36, but after being an entrepreneur and going through this process for about 12 years, it's led to a pretty amazing life and millions of dollars in income. It's led to being able to travel all around the world, produced over $50 million for either companies that I've owned personally or that I've marketed for other companies. And so it's been an awesome process. So I'm going to run through very quickly a process that I spend several hours over the course of several days in the new year and leading up into the new year. And so I've been in this process for the last few days. In fact, I've got my goals printed out here, been going through them. And what I do is I just, over the course of several days, I set the goals, I refine the goals, I put an action plan, and then I continue to refine until I've got a business plan, so to speak, for my life that's going to allow me to create amazing results. And because I've gone through this process for the last 12 years, it's led to pretty much every year consistently earning more income, having more success, more adventure, more fulfillment than I did the previous year. Now, there's obviously sometimes there's ups and downs and so forth as in anything, but by and large, it's produced greater results year after year after year. And so I'm just going to go through the basics here in my book, The Unemployed Millionaire. I go through a lot more detail on this, so if you haven't picked up The Unemployed Millionaire, definitely encourage you to read it. I actually just got a Facebook message from someone that had read my book and mentioned that it was hilarious, and so it's hilarious, but hopefully also pretty good. So here's the thing about setting the goal. Number one, have a specific goal. Don't just set a goal of, a lot of people say, I'm going to set a goal of earning a full-time income. Well, if your goal is that vague, your full-time income may be a full-time income at the poverty level, and it may take you several years to do it. So very specific goal. Definitely have a deadline behind the goal. In fact, some of my goals, I've got my goal that I'm going to accomplish by the end of the year, but then I've also got goals that I'm going to achieve by certain months. And so I've got deadlines associated with that. It's got to be written down. And in today's digital age, written down on your computer, that is written down. Here's what I do. I print this out. I'm going to have it posted in my office so I can see it every single day, which leads me to the next one. Look at daily. See, what happens with most people, the reason why they don't achieve their goals, and if I were to look at my results. In fact, being real open here, if I look at my some of the goals that I didn't hit for 2012, one of the reasons why I didn't hit them is I didn't execute on my game plan, on the action plan behind the goal. And one of the reasons for that is, unlike some previous years, I actually didn't look at my goal on a regular basis. And I'm not saying you have to look at it every day, but you definitely have to look at it a lot. And so that's something I will definitely not make that mistake again this year. But so look at it daily, and you've got to have a purpose behind the goal. Have a reason why the goal, it's not just an option. Why is achieving the goal a must for you? And get something that kind of stirs your blood, creates some energy. And you know, one of my main goals here, it's kind of the Matt Morris branding for mattmorris.com. It's something I've totally ignored my website, and I know that's, you know, a disservice to me. It's a disservice for you, for my readers, because there's so much value that I know that I can give you over the course of a year. And so, not going to make that mistake. But one of the here's one of the purposes behind this. Is, I don't know about you, but I see a lot of these self-proclaimed gurus out there who've got a major web presence. They're doing videos, and you know, one of my purposes behind kind of rolling out the Matt Morris brand and mattmorris.com a little more is that I'm just sick and tired of lame ass entrepreneurs that haven't produced a fraction of what I have more visibility, more credibility online than I do. And I just think I'm sick of people spouting out stuff out there that I know doesn't work because of tried and true principles that I've actually been through, and a lot of my friends have been through. We know it doesn't work, and we laugh at them, but nonetheless, they're out there. So time to make a stand there. And so that's just, you know, one of mine. Another one of my purposes behind, you know, one of my financial goals, for instance, it's world schooling my children. Instead of teaching my kids history out of history books like all the other kids learn, to be able to teach them history in the places in the world where the history actually happened. So that, to me, that gets me right here. That makes the goal a must. It's not just an option. See, I refuse to not have that become a reality. And so obviously, I'm going to work a lot harder on my goals than otherwise. So have a purpose, have an action plan. What are you willing to do specifically? Write this out. In fact, on, you know, I'm looking at mine here. I've got a bunch of different things on here as my action plan, but then I also have it broken down into different spreadsheets and action items and things like that. And so have an action plan and decide what you're willing to give up to have your goal, because the reality is, if you don't put anything out, you're not going to get anything back. You've got to, in many cases, they say pay the price for success, or you will pay the price for failure. And so I think that's very true. What are you willing to give up? And then here's something else. This is, I put a little star here. It's kind of a bonus. It's have a reward for achieving some of your goals. In fact, one of my goals here on the second page, one of my business goals is I've got, you know, I drive a Ferrari right now. Love the car. It's great. Kind of want a Lamborghini, but not to the point where I'm like, oh, I got to go have it. Well, one of the rewards I have by achieving a certain, you know, production level with one of my businesses, my reward is going to be to trade in the Ferrari and go buy a Lamborghini. And then I've got another one. It's a little bit of the stretch goal on it. Is if I hit another certain level, I'm actually going to go out and get my own personal plane. So in fact, that leads me to one of my goals is fun goals every year. And so that's kind of the next thing I want to talk about is different categories of the goal. Don't just set business goals. Set goals in different areas of your life. So, you know, there's your business goals, you've got your financial goals, health and fitness goals. In fact, one of the reasons why, if you saw my post yesterday, I put my before and after picture with me about 20 pounds overweight, and then the next picture with me with six-pack abs. One of the reasons why I got six-pack abs and got shredded down to about 8% body fat was because I set a goal to do it, and I put an action plan in place to actually make that happen. So set family and relationship goals. See, this is new. Most people never set a goal for their family or never set a goal for their relationships. And so it's no surprise why so many relationships suffer, because there's never any goal. There's never any action items. There's no leadership behind it. And here's the thing. I believe everything rises and falls based on leadership. And if you're not leading your family, if you're not leading your relationships, they will fall. And so that needs to be a major, major initiative for you for this year. Set learning and growth goals. This is something that, another thing, when I talk about goal setting, most people have never set a learning goal. And my whole philosophy and why my office here has thousands of books in it, and I've read hundreds and hundreds of books over the years, is because I believe if you empty your wallet into your mind will fill up your wallet. See, the greatest asset that I own is right here. The greatest asset that you own is the 6 inches between your ears. And so set some learning goals for yourself throughout the year. And last thing, personal and fun goals, which I mentioned, some of mine, get my pilot license. That's a fun goal that I've done the initial lesson, just have to do the hours. One of my fitness goals, be able to do 100 push-ups at one time. I've actually never done 100 push-ups all at once. I can do 50 and then 50, but not 100 at once. So that's a goal. Climb Mount Kilimanjaro. See, I have a bucket list that I created years ago. I'll do another video about this at some point, but I've got hundreds of things, of goals that I want to go accomplish in my lifetime. And so last year I went on a safari, went on a volunteerism trip. Last year, the year before, saw Machu Picchu. I've done some amazing things. Saw Victoria Falls and the pyramids in Egypt. I could go on and on and on and on. And one of the reasons why I've been able to do those, I firmly believe, is because I've set a goal to actually go out and do that. So every year I look at my bucket list and I figure out which items I want to check off on my bucket list to make my life more fulfilling. And so set some personal goals. Kite surfing, actually due to Hurricane Sandy, I didn't get to go kite surfing last year, so setting that as a goal for this year. So set different categories for your goals. Something fell there. And then last thing I want to talk about here is overall execution strategy for the goal. And that's what I've got at the end of my goals here. And here's the thing, most people forget about their goals. You get all excited, gym memberships in January, they're at all-time high. You go back to the gym in March, and it's all open. In January, you can't get on a treadmill, you can't get on an elliptical. In March, it's empty. You can get on any of them. Why? Because people set their goals, they forget about them. And so how can you get leverage? How can you force yourself to, a little bit, to go out and make sure you're, keeping faithful on your action items? And so one of the execution strategies is reviewing the goals every month with my personal assistant. And so actually one of my personal assistant's jobs, her duties, is to actually keep me accountable for my goals and for our company goals. And so we've got an appointment scheduled. In fact, this is another leverage point, is to schedule in my calendar the things that I know I need to be doing. And so it's scheduling in my calendar every month, the first Monday of every month, we have a meeting scheduled for reviewing the goals. And so another process is actually creating monthly goals. That's part of the execution strategy. You've got your yearly goals, but you need to adjust from time to time. So the first Monday of every month, we're reviewing the goals, and then we're resetting the goals for the month. And in many cases, for certain different items, we've got weekly goals that we've got. And so by breaking your yearly goal into a monthly review process, refining the monthly goal, sometimes having weekly goals, it's going to allow you to be a lot more effective. And so scheduling out. Here's another thing, scheduling on my relationship goals. One of my action items is a date night every week with my wife. And so I've got a date night scheduled in my planner every week. I've got in my planner, for instance, for my learning and growth goals, I've got 1 hour of learning every single day, 1 hour of reading a book, listening to an audio, watching a DVD, a training product. I am on a weekly basis, I'm buying something. This week alone, I spent $5,000 for a coaching program because I know the greatest asset I own is right here. And see, here's the thing that I know is true. If you want to have what you've never had in your life, you've got to become what you've never been. And the way that you're going to become what you've never been is investing here. So folks, invest here, make an action item, an action plan for your goals, follow them, keep them regularly, review this video if you need to. And if you enjoyed it, please put a comment below. I would love to hear from you. I personally, read every single comment that comes in. On many of those, I'm going to reply to you. And if there's anything, any other things that you want me to create some videos on for you throughout the course of the year, definitely comment below, and I'd love to help you out with that. So take care, make life an adventure.